Thank you very much. Really appreciate you coming today. So we could say the best for last in our program stance anyways. Jo Griffiths has been our professional, and she comes not only with her social work degree, but she has a special gift where she reads handwriting. So she will be here today also after the presentation's over to get your handwriting read. And she so engages these kids when she reads their writing. She tells them things about themselves that just blows their mind in their words, and it really engages them to open up more for the program. So Jo's going to come up and say a few words about her view, and she's been working with us for the past several years. And we'd like to welcome and thank her for driving all the way here from New Jersey today.
It's an honor to be here, and I look forward to reading the rest of you. Anybody who didn't get to talk to me, feel free, because I really love doing it. And I'd like to speak a little bit not on the handwriting analysis agenda, but the mental health agenda, because that's a very big piece. I'm actually a licensed mental health counselor. I unfortunately relocated to New Jersey, right near Philadelphia, so I haven't been in the neighborhood, and I miss it terribly, but I do miss the interaction. And working with teens has always been my dream, so I feel very privileged. But what I want to talk a little bit about, just for a few minutes, is the fact that most people on the planet, no matter who you are, where you are, nobody ever makes a decision to become an addict of anything. And that's a very big deal. We forget that. Because, you know, a little bit of getting together with people, having a couple drinks, smoking a little pot, or whatever it is that people are sharing, it's mostly for a good time. And I think across the board, adults, anybody who wants to have a nice time, it's usually at the expense of, I'm going to be with people and I'm going to share. And that's a good thing, and I think that's wonderful, and if people understand their limits, that's a good thing. Nobody wants to drink so much that they don't remember where they've been. The word blackout, and any of you in the room that have experienced the blackout, you know that it's almost something you cannot define. What does it mean to be in a blackout? What does it mean when your brain is just not with you anymore? Of course your brain is with you, but you lose the capacity to be conscious. Your subconscious brain is still on, it's still moving. We know that because when you sleep at night and you're not conscious, your subconscious brain is dreaming. When I look at handwriting, I can see your subconscious brain. And I know that sounds kind of weird, but I can do that because when you write, your hand is attached to your brain. And if even something traumatic is going on in your life and you don't want anybody to know, your handwriting will reveal specific things that are happening to you in the moment. So can I see somebody who is addicted to a substance? What do you think? Absolutely. I have met many, many college students in my handwriting analysis career, which is 22 years this year that I've been doing handwriting analysis, to tell you that most people don't realize how much of the brain is really affected by something as simple as having social drinking or social drugging. It's an incredible thing to cross the line between wanting to do something that's considered not a big deal to the point where you have to do it. All of a sudden you wake up and it's on your mind. You go to sleep at night and it's on your mind. Are you an addict? You know, it's a harsh thing to say to somebody, you know, you must be an addict. Nobody wants to hear that. But the reality is we need to really be conscious of what's happening, why we need to drink. And I guess the biggest piece for me is, I'm writing a book right now, and it addresses the fact that we're getting away from writing. Obviously, we're a text messaging, emailing, Facebooking generation, and I think that's wonderful. I mean, I do it as well. But we're not writing. We're not communicating that way, and the repercussions about that in the future are going to be people will not have an opportunity to self-disclose with themselves. Like, you could tell your best friend things. You could talk to people, you know, online. You could do all that kind of stuff. But if you're not able to really talk about what you're going through with yourself, who's going to come and hear that for you? So I think writing is such an important thing. And I feel very strongly that people who are using substances to hide some of the suffering that they might be involved in. You know, there's a breakup with a friend, a boyfriend, a girlfriend. You have a disappointment at work. Your parents maybe are on your case. It could be 100,000 different things, and you're in a position where you're not feeling really happy. And it's amazing because back in my day, of course, we all had problems. There's no such thing as a life without problems. Less of the population was running to use a substance, not to be feeling their problem. Nowadays, more young people are doing that. So you're dealing with something, it's painful. I don't want to feel this pain. What do you do about the pain? You don't go to sleep and it's going to be over. A lot of people will use a substance so they don't really have to feel the pain. But there's something good, there's a good news component about pain. When you get through a situation that's especially difficult, and some of our teens have been through that, and they've had to be patient, they've had to wait, they've had to deal with their pain on a level that most people may never really get to do. What comes out of that is they get to know who they are. They get to know their core person, a deep, deep person. And that sounds like, well, what does that mean? What's the big deal? It's life-altering because so many people run away from who they really are. They show a different side, or they live a different side, or they hide their pain and they move on. As a mental health counselor, obviously my years of training and my years working as a counselor, most people came to counseling because they needed someone to hear what was going on for them internally. And that's hard. That's hard to talk about what's happening on the inside. So in my opinion, if alcohol or drugs or anything that takes you away from really getting involved in what you're feeling, you're not going to wake up one day and everything that you're feeling is not going to go thrown away in the wind. You're still going to have to deal with it. It's like grief. If we don't learn how to deal with grief, it doesn't go away. You don't get to walk to a new life and start over. You still have to go through that process. So I applaud the teens because support is the other huge piece. You know, when anybody's encountering anything difficult, and like I said before, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, today I'm going to drink so much that I'm going to get in my car and I don't really care what happens if I kill people or myself. I don't really care. Nobody has that plan. Nobody in this room ever wants to do anything at the expense of somebody else's health or well-being. But we have to first look at our own well-being. And you know, I'm so grateful that Marie invited me to be a part of this program because it's always my joy. I mean, handwriting analysis aside, it's still my joy to work directly with people who are welcoming the idea of having people work with them. So, you know, it's that ping pong thing. We're not playing ping pong by ourselves. Anybody who's involved, we get something out of it also. And you guys must realize that as much as you put out, you giving back to us as well. And I believe for Marie, I don't want to speak for her, but I know that joy of making a difference, even if it's going to save one life, everybody in the room saves one life in your lifetime. Oh my God, you know, imagine if that's your legacy, that you went out of your way, that you really supported, that you really believed in something, that you didn't realize it then, but you found out sometime in your lifetime that you saved one person. That's all that matters. So I really feel sad that I'm not in the neighborhood as much as I would like to be, but the good news is I have a lot of time to write, and my book is starting to really develop into what I want, my story, and how I really have a belief in human beings, because I think that's another thing that might be missing a little bit in our culture, that everybody's running so far and fast and everybody's so busy that we're forgetting that we're all individual human beings. Every single one of us is different than the next. And I embrace that. You know, if there's somebody who's saying, you know what, I'm going to take a stand, I am not going to party. You know, I was one of those teenagers that kids made fun of. I would go to parties because I got invited to parties, but I wouldn't drink and I wouldn't do drugs. And a good friend of mine took me outside one day and she was like, you know, you're embarrassing. Every time you go to a party, people talk about how you are the only person that's not drinking or drugging or drinking so much that you pass out, because back in the day, that was popular. If you passed out, that was pretty cool. Like, you drank that much, you passed out. And, you know, I went to enough parties to see people in their element, and I didn't drink, I didn't drug, that was not my interest. And I didn't feel bad, and this friend became not a friend anymore because I decided that nobody's going to tell me what to do, which is a good thing. You know, my stubbornness worked out in a good way. And I want to say, take a stand. If you really believe in something, don't believe in it 99.5%. Believe in it 100%. And it's okay. If you lose friends over that, that's not a friend. You know, a friend is somebody who's going to say to you, good for you. If that's what you really believe, good for you. So that's kind of what I wanted to say. I wasn't really sure what I wanted to say today, but I feel so good to be in Ulster County right now. I worked in Kingston for 11 years of my life when I was living in Rhinebeck. And although I deeply regret the move, I'm very happy where I am right now because a brand new chapter has begun in my life. And I tell people to embrace things, so I have to walk the walk, and I'm definitely doing that. So thank you for inviting me, and it's been a wonderful day.